Go.
Actually, you guys are down this road before, huh? Well, when I was a young man, I would spend a lot of time with my grandmother's place in Elmhurst, Queens, because it was a great hobby shop there. And one of the fellows who went to this hobby shop was quite a character. And he had come up with this wild and wicked story that we were going to use to uh, kind of give a guy who was in the area a hard time. He considered himself to be a model builder of this and that and the other thing, but he was a nice young fella. But he was not in our group or our clique, so we figured that he was a good guy to play a trick on. So this fellow told him about this very famous design that was so fantastic in performance that only 4 or 5 people, or 10, I think it was about 10, 12 people in the world shared the plans for it and the secret of it. And basically, it was an airplane that belonged to the hand-launched glider, but it would glide forever. It had an opportunity, once you launched it properly, to continue to glide. It just had perpetual motion. Well, this was mesmerizing to the kid. He was so enthralled by the whole thing. So we said he persisted telling him about all these fellows who had actually the plans. And they were guys from all over the world. A guy from Germany, Hans somebody. And there was this famous Englishman, his name was Alfred Beamish. And Alfred Beamish had just died. And he had the plan. So that meant somebody else
How'd he die?
now could die. He died. I'll get to that in a second. But once he died, that meant that some other body could have the plan. Because there were only 20 people in the world could have the plan. Well, this Alfred Beamish, this British guy, was chasing this airplane in his Jaguar. And he apparently was not watching carefully, and it drifted out, and he drove off the white cliffs of Dover and killed himself in his Jaguar automobile chasing this fabulous glider. Well, this young fellow, he couldn't wait to get the plans, and he begged Joe Dudzik, he says, Joe, could you hook me up? And he did, and he gave him the plan, and he built this glider. And the glider looked just like a bird outline. And once it was built, he commenced to go over and try and get it to fly, and it didn't fly well. So he came and approached Joe again. Joe Dudzik, this fellow, was an older fellow who was in college. And he told him, well, the reason is you don't have the right covering. The covering had to be special feathers. So what happened was, Joe's dad happened to be a butcher. Back in those days, you got live chickens. So they used to have to pluck the feathers. So Joe came with a bag of feathers another day, and he gets this young man to put these, the young man's name was Conrad, and around the corner his daddy ran a bakery shop. So Conrad then very scrupulously glued these feathers onto this glider. And he came back and showed it to Joe, and he says, all right, that looks great. So now we start throwing the glider. Still won't fly. So he says, you're not launching it properly. You have to launch it, you have to run along the ground and hold it about 8 inches off the ground and just simply launch it forward. Well, this kid went back and forth, up and down the field for hours, dropping this thing from 8 inches onto the ground, plop it went, until he never realized that Joe was pulling a trick on him. Until one day that his father caught on what was going on. And we saw him coming. We were in the field all watching and giggling and having a great laugh with poor Conrad, this poor industrious young man. His old man came after us, the baker, yelling and waving his arms. We ran like all get out, I gotta tell you. And Conrad never came around much more after that, but it was a mean trick to pull on the youngster, but it was a great story. I don't remember fully all these individuals that Mr. Dudzik had created in his imagination to tell Conrad. but these were all fabulous names and individuals. That's the story of Alfred Beamish and this perpetual flying machine. Pretty decent story. Yeah, to an 11-year-old.
Any questions?
No.
No, that's good because I probably don't have many answers. I like that hat. I like that hat. What's this? East Village Street Basketball. Street basketball? You know, I just had an argument with a lady yesterday about all these organized teams. What are they, pickup teams? Street basketball? You know what a pickup team is?
Wow.
When you go out on the street and you just find 5 or 6 guys or 10 guys and gonna play baseball games. Hey, come on, let's go play baseball. Sandlot baseball. And it's like pickup. And it go get so-and-so, see if we can play. We need a shortstop. Go get so-and-so. Those are pickup games. We used to play them when we were kids. There were never had an organized team. You know, we always had groups of guys. Was our block against their block, or this gang against that gang. But I don't mean a gang with, you know, mean stuff gang, but I mean a group. And we would have teams made up, you know, and we used to do it with the bat. You spin the bat over your head, you know, you had to throw the guy the bat and he would grab it, and then you'd put your hand here, and he'd put his hand here, and then you'd put your hand there until you couldn't grab the bat anymore. And then the guy who could had a big enough hold on the bat to spin it over his head 3 times, he got to choose first. And he would look around, figure out who was the best player. Say, okay, you're on my team. Then the next guy said, all right, well then you're on my team. So, and then I want that guy. And he said, well then I'll get that guy. And that's how you got a team. And you generally got the best skilled guy and the next best and so on. So they were pretty even as far as skill was concerned. And we used to play great games. I used to play out in an old lot in center field, and it was full of wild strawberries. And I was busy out there eating wild strawberries, and I, you know, keep half an eye on the game and half an eye on the ground for wild strawberries. And they were like sugar. They were ugly, but they're not very big. Only about that size. And they were little white flowers. They're very low cover, green. Looked like poison ivy almost, but with small leaves. And they were great. Well, we had more darn fun.